I mean, between doing the dishes and having sex, like I really hate doing the dishes.
They're like just as bad. Honestly, you're not missing anything. There's like
Okay, but I really hate doing the dishes.
I'm super excited about this new episode of Assumptions because you may recognize some of the guests in this episode. We're on I Spent a Day with Asexuals, which we released on this channel a few years ago. And this new format is really cool because now we get to see what the guests who were initially just speaking with me would speak about when speaking with each other. And I'm working very closely working on this new show with Nicole, our producer.
Yeah, I hope y'all enjoy it. We're also going to be posting on the community tab for upcoming Assumptions episodes, so make sure to comment any assumptions y'all have about any given group so we can pose those assumptions to our actual guests in those videos. So for now, let's get into asexuals. Asexuality is a disorder.
that's the core of every psychiatric disorder. It has to distress you or the people around you.
I
And
feel like it distresses other people more than me.
Yeah.
which I'm not upset by it, so it's not a disorder, and I'm not like hurting other people around me.
But sometimes it's just like society tells you that you need to be this way. And like once you like can tune out those messages, it's like, hey, actually I'm fine not feeling
Yeah.
sexual attraction.
I think it gets brought up as it being some kind of a medical side effect a lot too, like low libido, which isn't even necessarily applicable to every asexual. It's not.
Libido is different.
It's a different thing.
Yeah.
There's so many different spectrums, and people who aren't asexual can have a low libido.
In the past, I've heard people say like, oh, I haven't had sex in months. I'm so asexual. How does that make y'all feel when you hear something like that?
People taking like real orientations and like the people saying, I'm so OCD, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
or like, I'm so depressed. Or the big one is like people like, I'm so traumatized, like, by that color shirt.
A lot of people confuse asexual with celibacy, which is just the choice to not have sex.
Right.
That is a different thing.
I think it's like fine if people are questioning that if they're asexual or not. It's like, oh, is this an identity? Does this apply to me? There's no way to like be asexual other than to not feel the attraction. It's like you can have sex, you can not have sex, you can have had sex once or 0 times or however many times, and that doesn't take away from being asexual. Like you said, like abstinence and celibacy, like I'm pretty sure the point of abstinence is actually that like you have sexual attraction and you're supposed to deny it, and we don't have it.
It's like the devil tempting you.
Right, and it's like there's no devil tempting us. There's no temptation.
Asexual people don't have to come out.
I actually I've been back and forth on it before, because after I came out in the original interview with Anthony, I objectively made things harder for myself. And at first I was like, what did I even do this for? Because it could have been something I go on dates and I tell them what my comfort level is with sex, and that's all it needs to be. I don't need to like identify a way. I don't need to tell them what it is. That only causes confusion all the time anyway. I don't feel that way anymore about it. It has made things challenging in my life, just being this way. But I'm very glad that I came out. I'm glad that I told people, and so many people got to hear it, because
Yeah.
it validated so many people's experiences.
Yeah, that's really the important part for me. I'm part of organizing a meetup group called Ace Los Angeles. And so we meet on Zoom or in person once a month. But because I can come out, that like helps other people learn, hey, asexuality like exists. It's real. It helps like if you're just the only person that you know who's asexual and you're like, is this real? Is this like legit? Then like you go and you meet other people, or like you go and you see that, hey, like these people are asexual too. Like this is real. It really helps people.
You know what helps coming out is the first video. It was a funny experience. I got asked out on a date by a guy in a mall, and I probably should have just said no to the number, but sometimes I have trouble saying no, so I took the number. And I think I told him, like, look, like, we could be friends, but I'm asexual. And then he's like, well, let's just cuddle and see what happens. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
That'll change everything.
You don't get it. At some point, I ended up just like texting him the video. And so it was like I have video proof.
Yeah.
Asexuals don't date.
If a relationship happens, like I'm interested in someone, they're mutually interested in me, then I'd be interested in pursuing to see what happens. But like I have so many things to do during the day. I don't need to just be like dating lots of people or like finding someone.
I think that's a good way of going about it anyway. It's better if someone you find them in your life, like doing your daily things, that you're living your life for yourself. Someone else might come along, but you're not actively going out looking for something. I do hope to find a life partner. That's something that I have like as a goal. I want to find the person to spend my life with.
I don't think I'm really looking for a life partner. I honestly think that I'd be happy as just like on my own, and then just like building relationships with family and friends outside. Because I'm someone who needs my space anyways. And I mean, if you take the sexual component out, that's what friendships are.
Yeah, for me, it's like if it happens, then that's cool. But it's not like a wish list to do kind of a thing where it's like, oh, I want to be married by like a certain age or anything.
I think too many people are afraid of being alone. And they think that's like the worst thing that could possibly happen to us.
I love being alone. I love it.
Alone's great.
I love having space.
Asexual people don't want to be romantic.
So I think people really confuse romantic feelings and sexual feelings, and those are two separate things that are often entangled, but they don't have to be the same. And so asexual is about not feeling the sexual component, the sexual attraction, versus aromantic is not feeling a romantic attraction. And it's like you can be romantically attracted to people without being sexually attracted to people. You can also be sexually attracted to people without feeling any romantic intentions.
It happens a lot.
Yeah, I was like, that's in media and life. Like,
Yeah, for me, that's why in the beginning I was like asexual and aromantic. Every once in a while I sort of have, I guess, maybe romantic feelings, but it's one of those things that's very like subtle and easy to forget.
I'm on like the other end of that spectrum where I'm like, I'm a huge romantic and I love romance. I have crushes probably 3 times a day. The thing that makes me ever want to get to the point of wanting to have sex with someone is getting to know them pretty intimately and like very closely and deeply. And I'm not going to do it before I get there.
I get crushes on people a lot. I feel like it's that initial infatuation that really hits me. And I think I do experience like romantic feelings mostly towards women, which is why I call myself an ace lesbian. My romantic attraction towards women and then my lack of sexual attraction are like two separate things.
Would you probably say that asexual is more the physical, sexual side, and then romantic is more of the emotional side?
I think it's definitely where like people who are allosexual, they have like that natural drive where like asexual people can still want to have sex and even can still have like a drive to have sex, but it's not like a natural, I don't know what it is. I don't know what that feeling is.
I've heard it described like a sex drive is like being hungry, and then like sexual attraction is like being hungry for something specific. So it's like you can be hungry and then just not want any of the food around you. You don't need that to live. You won't literally die.
Yeah.
Like I've never had sex. I've been in 2 relationships. Those have also been with like ace people. There's no one been like, hey, we're in a relationship, we should have sex. If I was in a relationship with someone allosexual, like, I mean, between doing the dishes and having sex, like I really hate doing the dishes.
They're like just as bad. Honestly, you're not missing anything. There's like
Okay, but I really hate doing the dishes.
it depends. Yeah, it depends.
I've been in relationships where I felt the way you felt, where it was like more of a task more often, and it didn't seem like they cared that I wasn't as into it as them. But then I've been in relationships where they like fully were okay with me taking my time and made me feel comfortable. And then things are fun. Then it's really fun to explore and have that with a person, for me.
Asexual people are repulsed or morally against sex.
To me, it's a neutral task. It's not the best. It's a little bit like awkward and a little bit gross and messy, but like no worse than like cleaning the toilet. You know what I mean? Like
Super sexy, cleaning the toilet.
It is gross.
Yeah.
I mean, if you take all the emotions and endorphins and dopamine out, it's not that great of a task. Like, it's repetitive, it's boring, it's kind of gross. There's
Sweaty.
Sweaty and other things there that are all sticky, and it's not great. But pretty much the whole thing is we like everyday stuff that people would consider like average more than sex.
I think it's all about finding someone compatible, where like the amount everyone's happy with, and there are compromises in relationships. Some people, I think, they've tried to weaponize compromise, where when I hadn't had sex yet and I wasn't ready yet with any partner, I heard that I was being a ridiculous virgin, that I was making it a bigger deal than it was. I needed to get it over with. I wasn't compromising because he was willing to do everything and I wasn't really willing to do anything. And as much as I am sex positive, there are still going to be times where I'm like, I might rather watch a movie or like use this time in doing something else. But I think also a lot of people in allosexual relationships, it's fine to want sex in a relationship. I feel like that's an okay thing to be looking for. But I don't know how much people are looking into the future of, if you have a partner you're with for life, there will be periods of time where you don't get to have sex with them. If they are sick, they become disabled. I'm worried about dating someone allosexual because that might become a problem later.
It's really hard for them to understand how people can like not have that urge, because it's, if you just think of it as if you're straight, you know, or gay, the gender that you're not interested in, we just feel that way about both. I don't really have any emotions associated with it at all. It's just like a neutral task. So I understand it, and I understand, but I don't feel it myself. And because I don't feel it, I really don't have a lot of the like judgments that other people have. Like, this is a horrible thing to say to my high school boyfriend. I told him, I was like, I don't understand why cheating is bad. And obviously he didn't really react that well to that.
I can imagine.
Looking back, I'm like, wow, but what I meant was like, I didn't understand why it was so hurtful. Not that I was gonna do it. We have more than one friend. Why is it such a big deal to have more than one partner?
I'm like sort of the inverse, where it's like, I don't understand why people cheat, because it's like, you need sex so badly that you're gonna like betray your partner and like lie to them or like hide an affair. It was like, just break up.
Yeah, why are you here?
Or like be in an open relationship. Like,
Or just stay home and do it yourself.
I think it's like interesting from an academic point of view. Like, once I remove myself from the equation, it's like, oh, like I would listen to like my friends tell me about their like sexual exploits or adventures. Like, I read like erotic fiction, or like I watch like movies with sex scenes in them. It's all fine. I just don't want to be having it.
Being asexual is like being in a football stadium with football fans, and you like, you know how to play the game, but you really just don't have any really passion for it. It's like, I know when to cheer, I know when they're having fun, but like, I don't actually feel it authentically.
I'm interested in football when it's my team.
Ooh, that's good.
That works.
Yeah, I'm not interested in any team ever.
Yeah.
Not even sports.
I could go and cheer and like eat a hot dog.
Yeah, I was like, if there's some benefit to me going in this analogy, like the extra credit for school, or like watching the Super Bowl, I get to eat chips or something. But there hasn't been like an auxiliary benefit for me to have sex, so whatever.
Asexuals just haven't met the right person yet.
Or my mom and my sister, they were like, you just haven't found the right guy, which is like, they had good spirit and good intentions with it, but
That's also not how like sexual attraction works. Like, you're not just attracted to one person in like your whole life ever.
and there's not one magic person.
Yeah.
Frankly, from what I've seen, people are often attracted to the wrong guy. Or like,
Oop, yep.
I mean, it's not like I'm only attracted to the person who's best for me. I mean, there's a lot of bad relationships out there.
I like to call it the magic dick theory,
I love
where
this.
Women get told that they haven't found the right guy yet, and it's like, it's asexual women, but it's also like bisexual women. They're like, oh, you're not actually bisexual, you're just like experimenting, you're gonna go back to being heterosexual. And I think bisexual men get it as well, but like, oh, you're actually gay, you just haven't figured that out yet. You're just gonna meet the right man, you're gonna realize you don't experience any attraction to women. And it's like, you should just accept that people feel the attractions that they do, and it's not about finding like one right person.
People are only asexual because of trauma.
It would kind of be like someone saying like, oh, he had a bad relationship with a woman, so then he turned gay. Like, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
No, that isn't a requirement anywhere else.
Maybe they'll be like less interested in dating, but it doesn't change their orientation.
And it doesn't matter if someone did experience trauma and they identify as it. That's how they identify.
Yeah.
That's their business.
Yeah. If you are allosexual, you'll know whether you're into an act or somebody or not. But if you're asexual, you don't have that contrast of like, this is what I want and don't want. It's all just kind of neutral. So you sometimes try things, oh, maybe I'll like it if I try it.
Yeah, a lot of us try things to see if, like, there's a reason why we're asexual, and it usually just, it is that way.
Yeah.
We're born that way.
It's okay to try things if you're making like informed consent decisions. But then like when people are like, oh no, like you really should try it, it's like, no is an answer regardless of if it's your sexual orientation or you're just not into it. People are like, oh, like, but you haven't tried sex. That's silly. Like, people can experience sexual attraction. Like, they know they experience sexual attraction without having had sex.
Straight people know they're not gay without having sex with the same gender.
But it's like, I don't have that contrast in my experience.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I, quote, should be feeling. But I wouldn't recommend it, though. Like, I wouldn't recommend doing things sexually that you don't want to do for a lot of reasons. I'm only saying that I have done it because I didn't know if everyone felt the same way I did.
I was never interested enough to like even be in a situation where someone is like, hey, do you want to have sex? Except for the one time I was visiting my friend from high school at her college campus, and her roommate had just discovered the wonders and the joys of sex. Like she came from a very religious background, and so this was like her exploring the freedom. And like I'm all for like you should have as much sex as you want or as little sex as you want. And she kept offering to hook me up with some guy. Like over the weekend I was there, and I was like, I don't have time for a hookup.
It's not worth the hassle.
Yeah, I was like, where is this gonna happen? Like in my friend's like in their apartment, like what? That was like I had already heard of asexuality, and so I was kind of exploring like, oh, like why am I turning down this offer for like this no strings attached hookup? Is it because like I don't like I want to like get to know the person first? Is it because I don't want to have sex at all? Is it because she's assuming that I'm heterosexual? And I really like use that to examine like why am I like not interested in sex.
Asexual people are just too young and confused to understand their sexuality.
I do think it's funny when people say you're too young to know you're asexual. It's like, I'm telling you I don't want to have sex right now and you have a problem.
Yeah.
As a child, I think that one's funny.
And it's like how old do you have to be to know like you're straight?
I've always been pretty strong, but also having this doubt in the back of my mind, is this like an emotional issue? Like, would I feel differently if I was in like a committed long-term relationship with someone I really like trusted and loved? It was one of those things I had never tried. I dated and stuff here and there throughout my 20s, but I've never been in like a fully like long-term, fully committed romantic relationship. So I did that like a couple years ago with someone who I had known really well. We were friends. And so I embarked on this like fully committed romantic relationship with a sexual component. I don't know how else to put that. And it was one of those things I thought maybe once I tried it, I'd be more into it. And the whole like 6 to 9 months, I felt the same about sex. And so, yeah, it's definitely an orientation. If they know you're asexual and not into it, they really should care. And if they don't care that you're not enjoying yourself, that's kind of a red flag. And if they do care, then it causes some kind of like guilt in them a little bit, some kind of tension, because every time you do it, they know you're not into it. So they feel bad, but then they have the urge, so they want to do it. And that tension will come up in the relationship in other ways. I mean, I'm not saying it couldn't possibly work. Like if you love someone and you want to build a life and have children, and like the one part of the thing you don't like is like the 5 minutes of sex once a week. I don't know how often people do it. Like 5 minutes out of my week is not pleasant, but the rest of the time is, then maybe, but it does create problems, and it did. But
I did the same where I kind of put it off and I was like, I don't have to worry about it right now. College, 18, adult, they're dating, they're having sex, and I was like, I'm not really there yet. I don't feel like I'm where other people are yet with those feelings. I think it's also okay if you're exploring and you pick a word and then later you redefine yourself, because the whole thing is an exploration. So it took me till I was an adult, but it's okay to decide and then be wrong or change your mind.
Also, asexuality is a spectrum. So like I've identified like as bisexual, as pansexual, as panromantic, asexual. Now we're like asexual lesbian. It's a whole journey. Like some people know from the beginning and that's what they are their whole lives, and that's totally okay. And some people like figure it out. I think it's fine for people to do that.
Asexual people can only date other asexuals.
I have never dated someone else that was asexual. Because of all people being so different, it might not be compatible for a lot of different reasons. So I don't necessarily think it's like we should encourage everyone to just date within like that closed pool.
Just being asexual, that doesn't guarantee compatibility in any way. Like it might be foundational, like something you share in common, and that's good to have in a relationship. That's not going to make something work. If someone's dating profile says that they're asexual, I was like, oh, like maybe we might be able to have that starting point conversation, like because you still have to explain like what are your boundaries with like physical intimacy, regardless of if you're both asexual or even if you're not asexual, you should still have that conversation.
Everyone should have that conversation.
they say only about 1% of people are asexual. If you're an asexual person who, falls in love or has feelings for someone, it's most likely not going to be another asexual. No one should ever feel like they have to compromise sexually so that they can fit in or be normal. I think the only thing is that if you choose to because it's worth it to you.
Yeah.
Asexuals aren't queer.
like those are separate identities, and you can come out as one or not, or the other. And so I'm actually out to my family as just gay because they understand what gay means. Like I don't have to explain what asexuality is, that it exists, that it means this. It helps me feel like more part of the queer community in some sense because I have these multiple identities. I know some people are like, oh, like I'm ace, but I don't know if I really like belong to the queer community, which like, no, you do. They all do.
I don't have like a label for my romantic attraction. I've only dated men so far, but I'm not closed off to it. And I think it's because I'm asexual. Like learning about sex at first with men was already like foreign territory and I had to figure it all out. And so it wouldn't be different if I found a woman that I felt romantically attracted to and then have to start all over, but would be willing to potentially, I'm like open to that. Asexual at the beginning didn't feel like enough. You get called like just a straight person wanting to be special and you're not really part of the LGBT community. They'll be like, you don't get treated different because you're asexual, but we do.
Only women are asexual.
It's hard because like people assume that just like men want sex. And so if you like fall out of that, then you're like seen as abnormal. I've known men who have been like forced to go to strip clubs against their wills because they're like, oh, like you'll enjoy it. And they're like, no, I really don't want to be here.
Yeah.
Or they assume like a man is gay if they're not talking about having a partner. It's like, oh, like maybe you're hiding a partner that is a man, and so that's why you're not like engaging in these like conversations.
It's such a male stereotype, like it's like of the societal like male identity of like going after sex and women and chicks. Obviously, like I'm not a man, but like
Yeah.
I've heard stuff.
Yeah.
And I have friends that are they're demisexual or aspectrum. And I can only feel for them how much harder it is for them to be accepted in their identity. Because I feel like it's almost easier that people are like, women that aren't into sex, okay.
What do you wish you knew before you came out?
Well, I wish I had known it was an option and that I didn't have to doubt my feelings. That I didn't have to like prove to myself and other people that my feelings were valid.
I would just tell myself that, hey, asexuality exists and it's an option for you and it is you.
I wish I waited longer, I think, to start dating. I've dated a lot. I have my experience. And the first few relationships were really, really awful ones. And I wish I would have just not felt like I had to put myself through that.
Yeah, I feel like asexual, we sometimes have trouble trusting ourselves because of the doubt. And I just would have told my younger self to just follow how you feel and not how you think you should feel.
Trust yourself, believe in the feelings or the lack of feelings.
Because we will have other people telling us what we should be feeling or what we should do or what. But I do wish I trusted myself.
And not having it as an option of like a way to feel, I tended to invalidate myself and make excuses like, oh, well, I'll feel it later or maybe someone else.
And like being left with my own company is not the worst future in the world to imagine either.
My own place, like with matching cups and everything, that sounds great.
Is there any good ace representation in media?
I have heard of some, but I haven't seen the shows fully. I know there's an asexual character in BoJack Horseman that I've heard is good.
The director of Ace LA consulted on that, and in it they included like him going to an Ace meetup, and then we had people come to our Ace meetups like, oh, I saw this on BoJack Horseman, and then I looked it up and it was a real thing, and then they went, and it's like people like exploring their asexuality might not even know it's an option until they see it on TV. And it's like, hey, this is real, and like other people also feel this way.
That's great because it's like one that's not talked about a whole lot or it's talked about entirely wrong. I was part of a comic book series where I was in charge of writing and creating the character that I played. She's asexual. So anywhere that I'll have the opportunity to be a character in something, I've made the statement, they're always all going to be asexual.
Yeah.
Whatever that means for them, if they have sex, they don't have sex. But I'm just saying it before I even have other characters. They're all ace.
There's this Japanese live action called, I think it's Koisonaru Futari, and it's about two people who are asexual who decide to form this like asexual, aromantic relationship and like live together. And it's like, what does it mean to build a family outside of heterosexual norms? And it involves this woman like coming out to her friends, her coworkers, her family, and it was a really realistic depiction of like how different people react.
I think definitely Sheldon Cooper from Big Bang Theory.
Oh.
I think obviously they had him have it later on, which at first I hated it, but now like after this conversation, I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with it because it shows that how much of a spectrum asexuality is.
Because that's the one thing with ace characters I've seen is they're usually about like the same kind of a story and they don't explore the spectrum. And I can see how that could be hard on TV when like displaying a lesbian's really easy, put her with a woman, but displaying asexuality and its like wide range can be really difficult.
Asexuals are not sexy.
Asexuality it's about the internal attraction part. It's not about the behaviors or the way you dress or anything like that.
Yeah, it's like one part of myself. I like fashion a lot, and that one I've actually found to be a conflict with my sexuality in a weird way, where people are like, you're not supposed to dress sexy or revealing or, God forbid, fishnets. And I'm in them. That's a horrible can of worms to open, to say the way you dress implies something about what you do.
Feeling attractive and flattering is different than wanting to have sex.
Yeah.
It's also for me.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm dressing for me.
I'm not dressing for someone else.
Yeah, and I think that idea needs to go out the window probably entirely. I'm on Tumblr a lot,
Yeah.
so I know like a lot of the asexual community on Tumblr. They're very kinky asexuals also. And I think it's because they're so detached from sexual attraction that they'll do it for whatever reason if it feels good and they're very into it. And that is probably something people wouldn't expect either.
There is a big like ace and kink
Yeah.
community. As like kink doesn't have to be sexual
Also
necessarily.
true.
Yeah.
Asexuals are cold and emotionless.
You touched upon that with like the
Yeah.
stereotype of like, they're
Oh,
just like
yeah.
super brainy, like
Or they just
all
can't
logic.
get laid.
I think that people would assume most asexual people aren't interested in like any forms of touching either, but touching can be very innocent and also not need to lead anywhere. I like physical touch a lot. I
Yeah.
like holding hands and I like kissing.
There is a sense of detachment from the quote unquote normal sexual attraction and sometimes even the romantic feelings. But that doesn't mean that the person is totally emotionally disconnected as a
Yeah.
person
Yeah.
just because they're disconnected from this one thing.
I almost feel more connected because it's a choice that I'm making and I'm like very conscious and aware of it.
Or you can't, you can't feel love like everyone else.
Yeah.
That's an assumption. Like if you don't have sexual attraction, like you can't feel love. I feel like that's a very narrow way to look at love.
Yeah, and intimacy can look different for all of
Right.
us too.
Yeah, like if you don't have sex, you can't be intimate, you can't be loving, and you can't ever truly care about someone. And that's
Those are all-
Sociopaths.
Those are all.
Oh yeah, no, one of the comments said that, and I'm like, okay,
You can go.
it's fine.